Hey everybody, it's Felix with Fldfishing. Today we're going to talk about bass fishing. More specifically, tips and tricks for that beginner angler that's looking to catch some bass and don't really know what to use as far as baits or lures are concerned. So I feel, and I did this last year with a friend of mine, he knew nothing about bass fishing, he knew nothing about fishing at all. We skipped the whole hanging bait phase. We just went right to lures, and the number one lure I went to because I thought it was the easiest to teach and perhaps the easiest for him to grasp, and it worked, was the senko, or a rubber worm or plastic worm. I'm sorry. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the kinds of hooks and presentations that you could do with those, and let's get to it. First of all, you're gonna want to let's talk about what kind of line and rod you might use when using a senko, or for the beginner. So I would use anything between 6 and 7 feet, spinning rod, beginner, and or if you're good at it, bait casting, again 6 and 7 feet, medium, heavy, can even be light, but you want something with a little bit of backbone so when you set that hook it goes through the jaw of the fish. And then you're going to want a clear line, either fluorocarbon and or mono. I kind of like mono for senkos because mono sinks, it goes into the water, it allows for a better presentation of the bait when it's falling through the columns of water. We're going to talk about that too. So the next thing you need to do is you need to get yourself an offset hook. So an offset hook means that you got a J hook, but the eye loop is offset from the shank of the hook. All right, and that's important because of how you're going to put the bait onto the hook. So you want to tie this on there. Make sure you check out my video on knots. I only use 2 kinds of knots when fishing, and generally I never failed. And what kind of knot I use is truly dependent on what kind of line I'm using, whether it's braid, fluorocarbon, or mono. All right, back to these guys. Alright, so I'm just going to pick up a black one. This is a senko. This particular one's a yum. Alright, and I have, other brands in here. We're not going to talk about that. I'm not affiliated with any brands. These are just the kinds that I pick up and use. So this is the top, this is the bottom. Okay, you can tell because that's flat, and this is more tapered. All right, there is a slot in there. All right, and that is so that way you can hide your hook. All right, so the way I do it is I make sure that the slot is pointing out. I start by putting the tip of the needle, the tip of the hook through until it starts to bend, and then I back out just a little bit. I push the sharp end through. I thread that through to the top, and again, you're already threaded, right? You're already getting tied on. And then you're going to want to I generally use my thumb or I just eyeball it. The thumb method is pretty good. And then you're going to want to take your hook and you want to put the point straight through. And when it comes out, it's now hidden. So when all said and done, you want an inline presentation like that. Look at that dangle. Oh, juicy, right? Juicy. Now how do you fish it? Well, and that takes practice, by the way. Lots of practice. So, how do you fish this? How do you cast it and then retrieve it? So, again, for beginners, I always suggest spinning reels. I would use about 8-pound test, 10-pound test mono. Tie it on, hook it up, weightless at first. Send it out there as far as you can throw it. Let it hit the water. I say count down to 10. Most bodies of water around here, unless you're fishing deep water, which then you might want to use some weight, but if you're going weightless, I would say 10 seconds. Give it 10 seconds. If you think that's not enough, you're probably right. Give it more time. Let it sink down to the bottom. Then use the tip of your rod, not your reel. This is important. The tip of your rod and not your reel. Bring your tip up. What it does is it's going to pull your bait up to a higher column, towards the surface of the water. And then lower your tip down again, and that'll allow it to float down, and it'll have a presentation of, shad or some kind of forage that the bass are looking for. And generally, these get hit on the down. So when you're bringing your tip down and it's floating down, that's when the fish smack it. So you start reeling in your slack a little bit. You notice something's picked up your line and it's moving. You reel in the slack, set the hook straight back, set the hook, reel down, continue to reel, bring the fish out of the water, and hey, Tom is your uncle, right? Bam, that's as easy as it gets. Last year, I introduced this method to a friend of mine, and he had never gone fishing before, ever. He just wanted to learn, you know. He's a friend of mine. He wanted to hang out, spend some time with us. So Justin and I took him out. I got him started on the whole the fishing thing. He got himself a spinning rod. He got himself some senkos, some hooks. I taught him how to do it. The dude started catching fish. Now he's hooked, and now he's on to different, bigger, better methods. You know, he's using top waters. He's getting top water explosions, and that's even more exciting than the senkos. And we'll talk about that in another video. But this is all about getting that beginner guy going, and I feel that this is the easiest bait to do, to teach, to learn. It allows them to feel what a fish is, what a bite is, what a nibble is, because you can have other bait fish trying to hit this. On top of that, you might have smaller bass trying to hit it, they can't get into their mouth, or you're gonna get misses too. So, you know, it's you know, like anything else, you have to put your time in. This isn't something that you just throw together, throw out there, and all of a sudden, you know, you're catching 8-pounders. I mean, somebody might, but for the most part, you got to put your time in, and you got to get that experience. That's part of the game, you know. There's also other ways to rig a senko. You could wacky rig it, which is when you put it straight down across on a hook. Trying to get this wrapped up here. I don't want to go too long on time. Wacky rig. All right, so with the wacky rig, you take the hook, you take the worm, and you just put that sucker just like that. That's it. Simple, right? It's easy. It's easy. A monkey could do it. Huh. So you wacky rig it. They sell different products with bands and things of that nature to help you secure your, you know, your hooks to your worms. And keep your worms to your hooks, your hooks to your worms. They sell all kinds of different products. Then you got this little jig head with a screw on it. You screw the worm head down, kind of like you put it on here, but you screw it, and then you hide the hook inside the worm, and you let this hit the bottom. You kind of jerk it a little bit. You very gently, you know, you move the jig head. It creates a presentation. Fish smack it. I'm not going to say countless ways, but there are a ton of ways to rig up a senko, and we're going to go through all those. But today we're keeping it simple, stupid, for the beginner angler, for the guy who's never done this before, and you know, you're taking your buddy out fishing, and he's never caught a fish before. He's never had a fishing rod in his hand. You're more concerned about him, you know, hooking you in the ear. You know, this is the easy way to just get him going and possibly catch some fish. Now, where to throw this? So we've talked about the rod, the reel, the line, presentation, the retrieve. Now let's talk about where you're throwing this bait. It's simple. Anywhere. You can throw it in grass. You could throw it in vegetation. You could throw it on cover. You could throw it next to cover. You could even throw it... Let me tell you a story. I was fishing behind this movie theater. You'll see it later on this season. And they had some overgrown vegetation, looked a little bit like cheese. I threw past it. I was working the outside part of that vegetation, hoping something was hiding in there and would hit it. Well, I got through the zone, popped it on top, started retrieving a little fast with not even expecting it. I elicited a top water strike from a young juvenile bass. This thing crushed this senko. I had no idea you could do that. So you can even work at top water over some vegetation. It is a very versatile, easy to use bait. I would say that when I'm not having any luck with crankbaits, swim baits, top water, frogs, any of that, I go back to the senko. Last year was my first year using the senko, and I almost fished it exclusively all year long. And I tell you what, it was incredible how much success I had with it, and it was easy to use. I can't say enough about it. Again, they have there's different styles of senko. You know, there's these these little guys, I keep them in these cases because I can put them in my bag, I can put them in my kayak. I could just grab them out of my bag and a couple rods and go for a walk and go have fun. You know, but they have different, they have long 7-inch, 10-inch, they have these. They have ones with tails, they have ones that are different color, multicolored, different flakes. There's so many out there by different companies. They have ones that'll sink fast, they have ones that'll float, they have ones that are, you know, more buoyant than others. You gotta find what you like and, you know, what works around you. You know, keep in mind when you're working with dirty water, you want darker colors. When you're working clear water, you want more natural presentation. Clear water is harder to fish because the fish can tell the difference between bait and, you know, your lure and what is real. You know, they can see and they have pretty good vision. All right, so let's wrap this up. I'm Fldfishing. Tell me how you like this little vlog, this tips and tricks for the new guy with the Senkos. Let me know. Comment below. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the bell next to it. Make sure you know when my next video is coming out or when it comes out. And don't forget to check out everything in the description below. My website, fldfishing.com, my blog, my vlog. I love you guys. Tight lines, be safe, stay warm. Talk to you later. FLD out. Peace.